The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.
Hello and welcome to the Friday Rugby Preview, looking at the Borders clubs in action tomorrow. That is, of course, if Storm AO win hasn't blown down any goalposts. Robin Purdy's with me again as usual, and we're going to dive straight in with a quick look at what happened last weekend. Starting in the Premiership, the results were Currie 15, Heriot 20. That was the Friday night game. Glasgow Hawks 7, Ayr 32. Kelso 26, Marr 12. Musselburgh 17, Edinburgh Accies 31, Selkirk 35, Melrose 29 and Watsonians 33, Hawick 32. So some interesting scorelines there.
Yeah, some good games there, Stuart. Great win for Heriot at Milani, out of all places. Currie having beat Ayr and beat Watsonians at home this season. So yeah, I think it's high time we start talking about Heriot in the same breath as Ayr, to be honest. Been quietly going about their business, but they're right where they need to be at the moment. Ayr done their thing, good 5 points in response to Heriot's getting 5 on the Friday night. Great win for Kelso there. They had that put to bed by half time. By the sounds of things, huge 5 points for them. Likewise, Edinburgh Accies, that's a solid win at Musselburgh in what was a basement battle. That, for me, sees Musselburgh gone. Unfortunately for them, it's too much to do, but they'll battle on to the end as they always do, no doubt. I was at Selkirk v Melrose, absolute belter of a game.
Yeah, you loved that game, didn't you? Waxing lyrical.
Yeah, best I've seen this season as a contest. Punch and counter punch, it really went at each other. Great game, and Selkirk have taken 10 points from Melrose this season, but it could just as easily have been Melrose taking 10 points from Selkirk. Such has been the closeness of the two games. Both went right to the wire, and Selkirk nicked it at the death on both occasions. Big players, big moments. Callum Anderson, you'll have seen the try, obviously seen the space, called it, took the pass and just pinned his ears back. Courage of conviction, and scored a wonderful try in the corner there that won the game for them. So great game there, and it sounds like it's been a belter at my side as well. Watsonians 33, Hawick 32. Great couple of points that for Hawick. For me, possibly could have won it as well. And
there was a last minute penalty that Kirk Ford, normally he would have slotted that easily, but it just drifted to the left. The win was gone, so instead of 5 it was 2, but 2 valuable ones.
Oh, I think so, Stuart. That represents a good afternoon's work for me. And Watsonians, they're just not looking as strong as Heriot's and Ayr in terms of the ex-Super Series teams. They are, I'm not saying they're there for the taking, but for the what you class as the club teams, they're the one Super Series team that you probably feel you can get one up on.
So what is it with you and Selkirk then? 6 games you've covered this season, 6 wins for Selkirk.
I've no idea. You know, I've not seen them play Ayr, I've not seen them play Heriot, etc. But yeah, they're good to watch. They're an entertaining team, but they're a good team as well. They've spoken about so often. They recruited so well in the summer, and those players, the Tates, the Fishers, they've just really added so much. But also their number 8, Kieran Westlake, he's a wee bit unsung in the team this season. He does a lot of the basic stuff really well, and they've just got a pretty good thing going on there at the moment.
Well, National 1, the results were Biggar 31, Gala 24, Dundee 19, Jed-Forest 41, Glasgow Accies 31, Highland 17, Boroughmuir 36, Stirling County 64 and Peebles 30, GHA 39.
Yeah, good win for Biggar. Prior to Saturday, they weren't quite clear of the relegation zone, so that's a really good win for them. A point for Gala's okay, but they might have been hoping for a wee bit more than that. Great win for Jed on the road at Dundee. That's 5 points. They'd have been hoping for that against the bottom team, but
first away win of the season.
Oh yeah, and you have to go and get the job done, and that's exactly what they did. Highland looked like they were trucking along okay at one point against Glasgow Accies, but Glasgow Accies have pulled away and Highland have left with nothing there, unfortunately. Boroughmuir, they've taken a point at home against Stirling. That's a good win for Stirling there. 64 points, we've spoken about before. They need 5 pointers every weekend from here on in. and Peebles, that could have been at one point looking like the shock of the weekend. They were in a decent place against GHA, but GHA have just shown their class at the end, I believe. But yeah, I think a point for Peebles against the unbeaten league leaders is not that bad a result.
International 2, Berwick 62, Newton Stewart 7, Falkirk 43, Preston Lodge 12, Kirkcaldy 17, Lassway 29, and GHK 14, Gordonians 14. Of course, Stu Mel sat it out last week in the 9-team league.
Yeah, great win for Berwick, first of all. Again, another team that could do with a few 5-pointers here and there, and that's exactly what they got. Unfortunate for Newton Stewart. I believe they're decimated with injuries. So yeah, tough afternoon's work for them. Good win for Falkirk against Preston Lodge. Kirkcaldy beaten by Lasswade. Berwick might have been hoping that Kirkcaldy could have done them a favour there, but that's a brilliant win for Lasswade. They're not clear of relegation yet, so that's a big win up there. And yeah, GHK, they came unstuck at home against Gordonians, flying high at the top of the table.
Let's have a look at the Premiership table then ahead of tomorrow. And Ayr at the top 66, Heriot 65, Watsonians 51 and Currie 43. They're in the playoff positions. Below that, Selkirk now move into 5th place on 37, same amount of points as Melrose in 6th. We've got Hawick in 7th with 30, and it's getting very, very close at the bottom there. Glasgow Hawks in 8th position, 29, Edinburgh Accies 27, Kelso 26, Marr 20 and Musselburgh 14. So that's the state of play at the moment. Let's have a look at the matches tomorrow then. Edinburgh Accies against Selkirk, 2 o'clock kick-off. Both good wins last week. Let's hear from Selkirk boss Sesh Henderson.
Okay, last week's game was Melrose. That was a massive win for Selkirk. It was it was a really good border battle. Both sides played it good tempo, good physicality. Callum Anderson, went over in the corner a couple of minutes ago, and it was a really good 5-pointer for us, which is a different mindset for this week. That just applies pressure on teams above us now, and puts pressure on us now that we want to stay where we are in the league, and that's what excites the players, just to push on and get better each week. Talked about it this week about Aki is going to be for home. It's going to be a tough test up at Rayburn Place. They'll be desperate to win, but we need to be more desperate to win. And this week, obviously, Dylan's out with his dislocated shoulder, so we've got to make a decision on the makeup of the back row for this week. But the good news that Aaron McComb is recovered from his ankle knock, so the back line as it stands just now will remain the same going into this game. So a lot to play for, but a lot of hard work to do, and we need to go up there and just apply as much pressure over the 80 minutes to Accies, and force errors, play some good rugby, and get points. That's the positive thing that we've been doing over the last few weeks, is getting points out every game, and then we want to go up the town there with a bit of confidence and come away with something, and hopefully it's a win.
You saw the match between the two of them at Philiphaugh early in the season. We can't guarantee a Selkirk win this week because you won't be there.
No, that's right. I won't be, unfortunately. But yeah, thinking back to that game, Selkirk made reasonably light work of Edinburgh Accies. It wasn't Accies' best performance by the season, I would imagine, by their own admission. They were pretty poor that day. I don't think it'll be as easy for Selkirk. In fact, I don't think it'll be easy at all. Tomorrow up there, Accies in a wee bit of a kind of state of desperation. They need to pick up wins. They'll have this one marked on the fixture list for a home win, but Selkirk can go up there fearless, absolutely, on the back of last weekend's win. Like Sesh said, Bronland being out, of course, is a blow. He's been a revelation since he came this season. He scored his first Premiership try for the club before he went off injured with that dislocated shoulder as well. So you'd imagine Bet might come into the back row there, or Liam Cassidy. They are operators. They'll put in a shift, that's for sure. Good to hear that it's not been too serious for Aaron McComb and that he's going to be fit. He's an absolute key man for them. He is a class player, and he picks up knocks, and a lot of knocks. The reason for that is because he puts his head in where it hurts, and if you're going to stick big forwards down his channel, he's going to do his level best to chop them down, and he picks up a few knocks along the way. And so it's, great to see him back. And Selkirk, they've used the least amount of players in the Premiership so far this season, and they're in that place where it just seems to be going well. And if you pick up a bit of knock, you want to get yourself back out there, and they look fit. They have won games late in the 80 minutes last weekend included this season, and they can go up there with in the best of fettle, and if they win that, they've got a game in hand on Currie still. If they win that Edinburgh Accies, they are in the playoff shake-up, absolutely.
That's a 2 o'clock kick-off, as I mentioned. Sam Matthews will be there for us. Heriot's against Watsonians, and Watsonians gave Heriot's their only defeat this season. Time for revenge at Golden Acre.
Oh, you'd have thought so, Stuart. That'll, Heriot's will be remembering that game. They were absolutely blown away in the first half of that game. They came back in the second half. It would be by far and away their worst 40 minutes of rugby this season, but they've been almost imperious since then, and you can't see anything other than a home win there. Them and Ayr just look a bit of a cut above.
And Watsonians comfortably in third place, but they have lost 5 this season.
Yeah, they have. As I said before, they look like the most likely, of the 3 Big X Super Series teams, that did well in Super Series in the latter part of it. They look the most likely to be got up by the club teams, and the table would suggest that as well. And it's going to be a tough afternoon for them tomorrow, but they can take heart from that performance, obviously, against Heriot. Like I say, in that first 40 minutes, they really did a number on them.
Another 2 o'clock kick-off there. Hugh Brown will be at that game. Marr against Currie, another 2 o'clock kick-off. Marr coming off the back of a loss to Kelso last week, and even though they're at home, they do face big rivals Currie. We enjoyed a match there in the rain not so long ago at Fullerton Park, and that was quite a passionate affair. The two teams locking horns, Marr and Currie. Marr have a game in hand, of course, on their relegation rivals, and certainly will want to make this one count.
Oh yeah, they're not quite last chance saloon Marr, but they're pretty close to it after that loss against relegation rivals Kelso last weekend, and of course it's a tough game tomorrow, but they're at home. Of course, Currie, decent point for them last weekend, albeit it was at home. But yeah, you got to look at the squad, Stuart, and fancy Currie for that one. But Marr, with absolute desperation, could come through as well. I'll look at Marr's upcoming fixture list after Currie at home, which is no easy task. They've got the toughest assignment of them all. They've got Ayr away, then they've got the other Super Series big guns Watsonians the following week, then they're away to Edinburgh Accies, then they're away to Melrose. So it's not an easy 5-week block for them, so they could do with something tomorrow.
The first of the 3 o'clock kick-offs, Ayr at Millbrae for the first time this year, and they'll be hungry for a win to please their home support. Not many clubs get anything at Millbrae, but Kelso go there with absolutely nothing to lose. Their director of rugby is Neil Hinnigan.
Saturday sees us travel through to Millbrae to play Ayr for what will be no doubt a hard contest. Ayr are obviously flying, and everyone's aware of just how good they are. For us, we've worked hard at training again this week to back up last week. It was a good home win and a much needed 5 points. First half performance was obviously really good, a good highlight of where our hard work has been put in over the Christmas. Our players have really dug in deep to keep their fitness up over the festive period, and it showed in the match on Saturday. Also with the defensive side of things in the second half, when Marr were throwing everything at us, we still managed to just keep them to one solitary try in the second half, which was obviously enough to get us there. So really happy with that as a team and as a club. It's a daunting task going to Ayr, but it's one that we feel we have to get a bit more excited about, and a challenge for each of our players to play the very best team in the league, and obviously the best team in Scotland. So they are a team that 5, 6, 7 years ago I think Kelso would have only dreamt of playing the likes of Ayr, especially for home at Millbrae, and the opportunity is there now to test themselves against the best, and it's a sort of sign of where Kelso is as a club now from where they've been, and it's one to try and get the players into a mode where they can challenge themselves individually and as a team. And we're fully aware how difficult it'll be to get a result, but there's many ways to get something from the game, and that'll be the aim, is to go up there and put on as good a performance as possible, and learn stuff up at Ayr as well, because no doubt it'll be a day of learnings at times, and that's for everyone, staff included. Plenty to look forward to.
Well, they shocked Watsonians at Marside. Can they shock Ayr?
I'd like to say yes, Stuart, but the form book, the season-long form book would suggest no. I think it's another of those games for me tomorrow. Nothing to lose, as you say, down there. If they can come away with anything, then that is a wonderful outcome as far as I'm concerned. But Kelso, they are in a lot better place now than they were a few weeks ago before Christmas. But yeah, it's not one they need to have marked on the calendar, Stuart. They've got Melrose at home the following week. That's a big game. Then there's a mammoth game the week after, Edinburgh Accies away, and then they've still got Hawick to come at home, Currie to come at home, Hawks to come at home. So the fixture list might be slightly kind to Kelso compared to some of their relegation rivals. So yeah, they've got other fish to fry as opposed to this tomorrow.
Hawick against Musselburgh. Plenty of history between these two, both needing points for different reasons. Head coach for Hawick is Graeme Hogg.
It's fair to say that we are bitterly disappointed with the end result from our game last weekend against Watsonians. To come up short by a point was a pretty tough pill to swallow on Saturday night. Taking a few days to get over that one, but loads of positives from the weekend. Obviously the 2 points from the 4 tries, and obviously the losing bonus point could be critical for us as we move forward throughout the rest of the season. Biggest pleasing thing for me though was performance. I thought we asked the boys to front up in what is historically a difficult game for us post-Christmas. I think if you look back over the last however many years, we've always struggled that first game after the Christmas break. So we put a real emphasis on it in terms of making sure our mindset and our physicality was bang on against a quality top 4 side. And for large portions of that game, we certainly did that. And for the majority of the game, I felt like we were the better side. The challenge for us this week is to back it up. Obviously, we've got a must-win game this weekend at home against Musselburgh, who are obviously a team who challenged us at Mansfield over the last couple of years. We know that they'll obviously be desperate for points, considering where they are in the table, and we're not taking that lightly. Boys, again, have worked hard, really hard this week. We've put some plans in place for what we think will come this week. And as I say, just making sure we carry on that momentum and that confidence that we can take from last weekend and put it into these run of games that we've got coming over the next few weeks. As always with us this season, unfortunately we've picked up another injury. Russell Anderson will be out for a couple of weeks, so young Fergus Bell comes in to start in this week. He's been an ever-present in our squad this year. He's worked really, really hard for his chance, so he's going to get that opportunity this week. Logan Henry comes back into the squad. Unfortunately, he got ill when he was across in New Zealand after Christmas. I think he just wanted another week in the sunshine, but he comes back into the squad this week, and apart from that, we're unchanged. We're looking forward to the challenge that Musselburgh bring us this weekend at Mansfield.
Well, because Musselburgh have got this habit of wagging their tail at the end of the season, but they're going to have to wag it very hard if they're going to get anything out of Mansfield Park.
Oh yeah, they're going to have to wag it exceptionally hard, and not just at Mansfield Park in the forthcoming weeks as well. And Musselburgh have given Hawick something to think about at Mansfield in the last 2 or 3 years, if memory serves correctly. But yeah, I'm struggling to see anything other than a home win tomorrow, Stuart. Musselburgh might come away with something, but I fancy Hawick to have too much at Mansfield. And I look at Hawick's fixture list, and they are in at the start of a 5-game period where there are winnable games there. Musselburgh home, Selkirk away, Hawks at home, Melrose at home, Kelso away. So Hawick will be looking to pick up some points in the coming few weeks and just pull away from the drop zone. I think with that couple of points, that's done them last weekend. That's done them no harm at all. Now, they won't want to slip back into it, but I think looking at these 5 games, I can see them getting enough breathing space now.
David Ferguson covering that one for us tomorrow. The other match in the Premiership, Melrose against Glasgow Hawks. Donald Crawford will be there for us. Melrose won at Bulgrey earlier in the season, so a double is on the cards, but still smarting, of course, no doubt, after losing at the death again to Selkirk last week. Let's hear the thoughts of Melrose co-head coach Scott Wight.
Bitterly disappointed last week with the result. I thought we played some decent attacking shape in terms of when we had the ball, but came up short again, which is obviously bitterly disappointing. And I think obviously the boys have kind of reacted well to that this week in terms of the feedback. Just need to tighten up a few areas and be more consistent over the 80 minutes. To go 14-0 down is obviously very difficult to come back from. We've done that, so look, loads of positives, but a good few areas to tighten up in terms of this weekend. But excellent to get back home. Feels like ages since we've been back at the Green Yard. So look, boys are really keen to get back out on the pitch, essentially get a result this week. We know it'll be difficult. Went up to Glasgow earlier on the season and turned them over, so we're well aware that they're going to be coming down with that in mind. So it's about getting preparation right this week. We've prepared really well in terms of Tuesday night, a lot of good discussions, a good session to back that up. So it's really important back at home that we get a result this weekend. Team-wise, we will welcome back Will Ewen. Still to finalise a few things. There's a couple of knocks from Saturday, so Rolly Brett, Connor Spence kind of sitting on the fence at the moment, so we'll need to wait just to see exactly what the back line looks like. The only addition in the pack, essentially, Will Ewen's available for selection, and Kieran Clark obviously reacted well to playing in the Storm last week, and Dougie Crawford got 40 minutes under his belt last Friday as well. So a few hard decisions again
again this week, and we're looking at that as a coaching group and making sure that we get selection right. But the boys will be really excited to get back home and hopefully put in a performance.
Melrose against Glasgow Hawks then. Melrose can do themselves and Kelso a favour by beating Hawks.
Yeah, they can. They'll be thinking of themselves first and foremost. And that was a really good win that they had in the reverse fixture earlier in the season. That's not an easy place to go and pick up a victory. So yeah, they'll be smarting a wee bit from last weekend, but I think they can take some comfort from the fact that they just as easily could have won that game. To be honestly, Al Ferry was absolutely mammoth again. Elliot Ruthven had a brilliant game. I'd like to see him get a good run of games, a sustained run of games in the Melrose team. I really think he brings something with his bulk and his pace and his rugby ability. And yeah, Melrose, there's been games this season, the two Selkirk games in particular, were just a wee bit more composure in the red zone, if you want to call it that. We'd have seen them over the line. They carved Selkirk open a few times last weekend, and particularly towards the end of the game, and it culminated in them coughing up a penalty, or they lost the ball or whatever. And so yeah, Melrose again in a pretty good place. But yeah, if they want to maintain a charge towards the playoffs, then yeah, they need to win against Glasgow Hawks tomorrow, and they probably need 5.
National 1 then, here's the table. GHA at the top. They're still unbeaten. They've just had that one draw against Stirling County to block the 100%, but they're on 65 points. Stirling County 56, but do have a game in hand. Glasgow Accies 56 as well. Gala have 38, Jed-Forest 35, Biggar 34, then a big 9-point gap to Highland on 25, Peebles 24, Boroughmuir 22 and Dundee 11. The bottom 3 obviously are in the relegation zone with 3 going down, and Dundee have another home match, but it's against Stirling County, so it's 10th versus 2nd. Stirling know they have to win every game to the end of the season with a bonus point to catch GHA, and of course hope that GHA slip up, and that's bad news for Dundee. Also, of course, don't forget that Stirling have had a try bonus in every single game.
Yeah, they are free scoring, Stirling, as shown last weekend. Dundee, historically a tough place to go, but Jed breached it with what looked like a degree of relative comfort last weekend, and you have to fancy Stirling to do the same. Stuart table doesn't lie, it's the old adage. And Dundee, 11 points cut adrift at the bottom. Their race is run, unfortunately, in terms of survival in this division, and the very smart money would be in Stirling to come away with a bonus point win tomorrow.
Interesting Glasgow derby, GHA versus Glasgow Accies, being played at Braidholme. GHA, as I said, still unbeaten, 13 wins and a draw, but some tight games which could have gone against them, but they're 9 points clear of Stirling. Stirling have that game in hand, but this is one that Glasgow Accies will certainly be up for.
Oh, definitely. That'll be a great occasion there tomorrow, Glasgow derby, and Stirling absolutely will have won BDI on that, hoping that the Accies can do them a favour there. And yeah, Glasgow Accies have gone great guns this season. They're probably, they're not going to get promoted, but they've been comfortably the third best team in the division, and they've beat Stirling along the way as well. So yeah, GHA home advantage, top of the table, unbeaten. You fancy them, but a reasonably close one to call that. A great occasion.
Those two matches, both 2 o'clock kick-offs. The rest kicking off at 3, including Gala against Boroughmuir. Gala lost last weekend, but back to Netherdale, where they're consistently good. We're going to hear from head coach Euan Robbie.
Travelled up to Biggar there, and we started really well, but then we probably didn't manage. We had the win in the first half, didn't manage it how we should have. And Biggar kept possession really well, to be fair. They came back and drew the scores level 7-7, and we got down to get another penalty to take it to 10-7, and Biggar scored just before half time to take it 14-7 at the break. Came out second half, we got the first try again, but Biggar gave us a lesson how to kind of use the elements to get territory. Got a couple of scores in front, and then they kicked a penalty, so we were kind of up against it at the end there. But one positive about the game was the hard work and determination and effort the guys put in to get back up the pitch, and we got the bonus point try through Richie Mitchell, so we got a losing bonus point in the fixture. Some good enough performances, but again, just how we let a couple of 50-50 decisions that didn't go our way that probably should have. That kind of affected our mindset and application for some parts of the game. But no, positive to get back and get that point. Boroughmuir travelling down to us. They got the victory up there, but the boys are hurting from it because that was a game we should have won. So we're looking forward to getting back in a paddock. They will throw the ball about, so our defence is going to have to be on point. The good points about it, we enjoy playing at home. We're a different animal at home, and boys are actually looking forward to getting back in the Netherdale pitch. And a win at the weekend would be a massive result for us, because it takes us really more or less into the 100% safety area. So we're looking forward to it. We'll put the best foot forward for it, and just go on with the game on Saturday.
Gala, of course, out for revenge after that defeat at Meggetland. I think it was 2 yellow cards caused the issues, and then Boroughmuir came back and nicked the game. Of course, Boroughmuir needing every point they can get.
Yeah, they're at desperation stage. Boroughmuir 22 points, second bottom at the moment, but they can clamber their way out of it, and what better way to start than with a win at Netherdale tomorrow. But it's that home advantage for Gala. They're so strong at home. They nearly put Stirling away. They've put in some brilliant performances. They just look to be a different animal at Netherdale, and I think that's what, for me, will see them over the line tomorrow.
Highland against Biggar. Again, putting on our Borders hat. We'd like a bigger win there to help Peebles, but Highland at home, very hard nut to crack.
Yeah, for sure. This, for me, in this division at least, looks about the hardest game to call tomorrow. Highland, as you say, strong at home. It's not the fortress it once was, and Biggar are just one of those teams that can turn up on a day and beat anybody, as we've seen before. So yeah, tough one to call. Biggar could do with a win as well. They're not completely out of it as yet. A similar kind of position to Jed in the table. So yeah, Biggar could do with a win. So again, be a decent game up there tomorrow. Could be windy. If it's not died down by then. We've been there before and it's been windy in the past. That could have an impact. But yeah, too hard to call for me, that one, Stuart.
And then we come to Jed-Forest against Peebles. It's our featured game on Rugby Radio. First round went Peebles' way, but last home game for Jed this season. They'll be wanting to go out with a bang. In the build-up to this, I spoke with both head coaches, Graeme Paterson from Peebles, and let's hear first of all from Stuart Johnson of Jed-Forest. Stuart, a relief at the weekend, first away win.
Yes, first away win of the season, and first away win for quite a while for the club as well. But no, as I said before, it was a game that we needed to get 5 points from, just to try and alleviate a bit of pressure from that bottom three, and we managed to do that. So no, it was good.
You scored 40 points. You weren't totally happy with the performance, which in a way is a good sign. If you're playing badly and scoring 40 points, then there's a lot more left in the tank.
Yeah, a lot of it's down to rustiness. We've had 4 or 5 weeks off since that GHA game, with obviously Christmas, New Year, and then the weather. So we can put a lot of it down to that. But we looked at the performance at half time. We were 7-0 up after sort of 5-6 minutes. We should have been out of sight by half time. It should have been 28-35-0. But we scored eventually and then let them in with 2 soft tries, so it was 14-0 at half time. But we regrouped at half time and came back out, and as you say, scoring 42 points up there. And the main thing was just to get 5 points. Yeah, that's what you really needed, and that's what you got, and that takes you into a much more comfortable position. Not out of sight yet, but you're in a good position. Yeah, we're in a really good position. A lot of teams below us play each other, so there's only one team that can win out of that or a draw. So yeah, we're in a decent position, but this weekend's pretty big. And it's a revenge mission because Peebles beat you at the Gates. Yes. Aye, we got beat at the Gates, obviously in a pretty high scoring game as well, to be fair. Again, we had a few boys missing up there, injuries, so we're pretty strong again this week. But yeah, look, it's all about us. If we can fix some of the issues from the weekend there, just in terms of our finishing, individual tackles, and we're back at home. Obviously a big farmers lunch as well, so the club rooms is full for that as well. So it's a big game for the club. It's a big game for us in terms of league position, but it's a must win if we want to just put ourselves at ease for the rest of the season. Because it is your last home game, and it's also our last home game. Yeah, so we've got Peebles at home, Glasgow Accies away, and then the 2 rearranged games with Boroughmuir and Stirling both away. So it's not an easy few games after that. But I think if you ask any of the teams in that, from really Gala down, because Gala are only 2 points above us as well, but nobody's got an easy run in. Peebles then, they of course need the points, there's no doubt about that. They're currently sitting in the relegation zone. Putting a Borders hat on, a high scoring draw would be ideal, wouldn't it? 3 points each. No, no. I'm after
5-2 then.
Look, I'm after a win. If a bonus point comes, brilliant. But no, we need to win. And if you look at Peebles, they're very good defensively. They've had 7 losing bonus points, which says it all in the league. So if they're in a game, they're in it. They don't really get beat comfortably, so we know we're going to have to be on it. If we can improve our accuracy in attack from the weekend and just some decision making, look, we always score points majority of the time. And I say it was just more some individual tackles which we can fix quite easily from a defensive point of view. So that's just a big focus for this week. But as I say, we're going to have to be on it for sort of 70-80 minutes on Saturday, because I said Peebles are always in a game. And they've proved that again against GHA at the weekend there. They were up at half time and only got beat by 9 points. We played GHA before Christmas and we were exactly the same. We were up after 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and we were up with 5 minutes to go. And unfortunately it was an officiating decision that's probably cost us that game, but I'm not reading too much into that GHA game.
The league table can be really cruel, can't it, sometimes? Because you mentioned the 2 games that Peebles had against GHA. They could easily have won both. And then you get a situation where GHA have been behind until the very last minute. So they've managed to grab 4 or 5 points in a lot of games, still unbeaten. And of course, you ran them close, very much so at Riverside.
Yeah, if you look at the league, obviously GHA are unbeaten, but I wouldn't be putting money on them going unbeaten for the rest of the season. They've obviously lost their 12, so he wasn't playing against us, and he's big for them. If you just look at the rest of the league, even Stirling, for instance, everyone would have said at the start of the season Stirling would probably walk that league, been coming out of Super 6, keeping all their squad, but they haven't, unfortunately for them. But I think our biggest problem is just inconsistency. So we unfortunately had 3 or 4 call-offs against GHA in the morning with norovirus. I think if we'd been full strength, we probably would have won that game. Been 2 points up with 5 minutes to go. But our biggest problem has just been inconsistency. Like, we've run GHA close, we beat Glasgow Accies, but then we're getting beat off teams round about us. But look, it's pleasing that we can compete with the top of the league, but I say it's just about this weekend only at the moment.
So Graeme, how do you approach a game like this one?
Quite simply, we go out there to win. It's not about being insular and try to play within yourselves. We just need to go out and try and win that game, and as you do every game, we have some insight into Jed, obviously through videos and having played them earlier on in the season. We have some obviously evidence of what we are doing well, what we're not doing well, and then we put that into the game plan, and hopefully it comes to fruition come 4:30 on Saturday.
You've played some really good rugby against some of the top teams, particularly GHA, home and away, and come out with it with not many points at all, which must be pretty frustrating.
Absolutely, Stuart. I mean, and that's it. You know, we spoke to the GHA coach, Callum, and some of their players after the game, and it's great to hear things like, oh, that's the toughest 2 games we've had all season. But it doesn't mean anything if you're not winning them. You know, for us, you know, for our point of view, we want to be winning these games, and you know, we were in a position to win that game, and we let it slip. But also, they were a very good side, and they came back very strongly in that sort of third quarter of the game, and emptied their bench, and they made a big impact and got them over the line. I kind of say to players, you know, put the performance in, you'll get the result that you deserve. That usually rings true. Sometimes it doesn't, but I think in such a competitive league as to what we're in, you know, you can be slightly off in certain areas just for a short amount of time in a game, and it totally reverses that fixture. You know, the Highland game, you know, that we played at home, you know, there we were in control of that game, slightly off for the last 10 minutes, and we lose the game, you know, and the same at Dundee as well, you know, winning in a winning position, slightly off for a 5-minute period, and we allow a team to come back into it, and that may come back to haunt us at the end of the season. Hopefully not. We've still got enough time, I think, to claw ourselves back into a good position.
I was going to ask you about that, because obviously as weeks go by, the pressure kind of mounts, and everyone looks at the table, sees you in the relegation zone. But of course you do have Dundee at home, which is a big one. This fixture this weekend against Jed-Forest, a team you've already beaten, is obviously going to be a big one. But, you know, from a running perspective, you'll be fairly confident.
Yes. I mean, I think what I've said to the guys immediately after the game on Saturday, if you put that performance in for those last 5 games, you will win those 5 games. I am completely confident of that. Now, that might depend on other results. It might come down to a big shootout up in Inverness against Highland in the last game of the season, so and you know what, we would take that, if we got to that position where we were in control of our own destiny and knowing what we had to do, not thinking about anybody else, then that's probably not a bad position to be in.
Of the 5 games though, 4 of them are away from home, which is never easy.
Absolutely not, and you can see that throughout the results, in the league. Teams are very strong at home, and looking ahead to this Saturday, Jed are very strong at home. They pride themselves in how they play, down at Riverside, and that's something that we've got to take into, a huge amount of consideration into how we approach the game. Certainly early part of the game, we know that home teams come out firing and try to make their stamp on that game, so it's about kind of dampening the flames and just kind of firefighting for that first 20 minutes maybe, and just getting ourselves a foothold in the game and then coming through towards the end. So yeah, home games are obviously easier, usually are. We've got to go there with no fear. We've just got to go out there and play to our best of our ability and give it our best shot.
And it must be a nice feeling when you are playing away from home to silence the home crowd.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it obviously just gives our guys a boost. There's a lot of hooping and hollering goes on nowadays from touchlines and, on the pitch as well from players, so if you can kind of negate that, it's always something else to just kind of put in your back pocket and say, we've got this now, and give you confidence to just go forward.
And what about the team news for Jed?
A couple of kind of changes that will be coming up. So William Napier's his Navy duties, he can't get up this weekend, so he'll be replaced by his brother John on the bench. Archie Winnington Ingram comes back in as well, and James Hodgkiss as well, having been unavailable last week, so they're both back into the squad as well for Saturday. But I mean, there's not going to be many changes, because actually the performance last Saturday, these guys deserve every chance to go again, and that's what it'll be pretty much. Buster Davison got a concussion, so he's out for 3 weeks unfortunately, so he's replaced by Frey McKeever on the wing, so it's great to see him back as well, getting his first start for well over a year after an ACL injury. Got back on the pitch last week, and he's got his start for this week, and Rio Batia as well gets a chance to come onto the bench as well. So all young, good Peebles players, coming through, and that's what we'll keep producing, hopefully.
And I'm looking forward to Robin commentating on Archie Whittingham Ingram.
Yes, Archie's joined us from Edinburgh Accies, and he's a fantastic guy, really good player. He came down to us from Edinburgh Accies, he moved down into Peebles for his job. And he's fitted right in, and he's a quality player as well, which is obviously a bonus for us as well. But a good guy to have around on the pitch and off the pitch as well. He's really fitted in with the boys.
Well, this season we've seen some really good, cracking border derbies. Let's hope this is equally as good.
Indeed.
There we are, that's Graeme Paterson and Stuart Johnson. Have you been practising that double-barrel name?
Archie Whittingham Ingram.
Yes, good luck with that.
I've commentated on him a few times in the sevens actually. He's turned out a few times for Accies in the sevens, so hopefully tongue won't get too tied tomorrow.
Yeah, well, what about the match though? I mean, 5 losing bonus points for Peebles tells its own story, doesn't it? That's more than any other team in the league.
Oh yeah, and what adds to that story is the fact that their points difference is minus 69. Jed's is minus 70, incidentally. So they've been involved in some tight encounters. I can't remember cricket scores being put on them off the top of my head. So they're a stuffy outfit. They won the reverse fixture reasonably comfortably from memory. Jed did do well to come away with 4 tries, and Jed were under strength that day, but yeah, Jed were poor, and Stuart was pretty annoyed after that game. So yeah, it's Jed at home maybe gives them the slight advantage as far as bookies would be concerned, but Peebles desperate for points, and yeah, one thing's for certain, it's going to be an absolute ding dong there tomorrow, and both have got tough run-ins for me here. Graham's right. The games are winnable, but Jed are away from home. You touched upon it in the interview. Glasgow Accies, Boroughmuir, and Stirling away after this game. Peebles have got this game, Dundee at home, and then Accies away, Boroughmuir away, and Highland away. I mean, that's a run in for me. So both these teams could do with points tomorrow. Jed, if they win, for me, are safe as of tomorrow. But if they lose, then they've got something to think about, and Peebles could really do with a win.
It's going to be very interesting. It's our featured game tomorrow. Yourself and Andrew Fleming in the commentary box for that one. National 2 then. The table is Gordonians at the top with 44 points. We've got Stuart's Melville, who didn't play last time out, so they've in fact had quite a long period without any rugby. It'll be interesting to see how they come back. They're on 38. GHK 33, Kirkcaldy 31, Falkirk 30. Then a bit of a gap of 7 points to Lasswade with 23, Berwick 22, Preston Lodge 16 and Newton Stewart 16. 2 going down from National 2. So Berwick, a big win last week at home to Newton Stewart, but can they back it up against the league leaders? Let's hear from Berwick head coach Paul Pringle.
Last Saturday we had a really important victory in what was a must-win game for us at home to Newton Stewart, where we run out 67-7 winners. The scoreline looks pretty one-sided, and to be fair to Newton Stewart, we know that they had their own injury troubles, etc. So they were travelling with a slightly depleted squad. But I don't want to take anything away from my guys who, you know, really implemented and put into practice the stuff we've been working on all week. Myself, James and Hilly have been working with them. You know, just identifying space, guys becoming active at all times, opposed to passive runners. And yeah, it just seemed to really landed. And don't get me wrong, it's one of those days where, you know, the majority of passes stuck, but yeah, our back three were excellent. James was obviously fantastic again, and another hat-trick for him. But yeah, you know, I feel for Newton Stewart. They're a great club. They're a really good bunch of guys. But like ourselves, you know, they don't have a huge area to draw from. And when you do get a few injuries, you know, it can impact your squad pretty hard. But they're too good a club and too good a bunch of lads not to bounce back. So they'll get the results that they need over the coming weeks, and hopefully can put themselves in the right positions. Just moving on to this week, you know, just back to what I'm saying there, we do have a few injuries and a few unavailability, which kind of really impacts our squad. But I'm still really happy with what we're taking up to Gordonians and what we know will be a very hard challenge. So Jordan Paterson, who has been fantastic this season for us at prop, is unavailable, so that gives a chance for Jock Williamson to come in off the bench. Jock's been great since he came to us from Gala in the summer, and yeah, he's just a really good player. When Carl Gullen will step back up after a strong showing in the twos onto the bench. Rafa Kraminski isn't available this weekend, so Callum Sim returns from injury, and the young 18-year-old goes back into that back row, where I don't see it weakening us at all. Duncan Hardy, after a great showing for 20 minutes at 7 last week, I'll have to return to his 12 spot because unfortunately Rory Hindhoff took a bad bang to the face, which will keep him out this week. For the remaining 60, Duncan was as strong as he is, and he will get back in at that 7 jersey, but the fact he has that versatility to go between two is a massive plus for us. The bench will be Ben Nicholson and Adam Hardy, who both had strong showings off there. And we'll be bringing in the second team captain, Grant Waltman. So Grant, the last 2 games for the twos has been outstanding. Fully merits his place on the bench. Training's been good this week again. You know, for me, we've nothing to lose. We're not expected to achieve anything up at Gordonians, but that's only from the external perspective. Internally, we really feel like we need to be building on the performance from last week, and just making sure that all that hard work we've put in over the Christmas period really comes to fruition over the next couple of months, when, you know, games can be sporadic at best, but we do have a cup quarter final, etc. to build for. So yep, looking forward to the road trip on Saturday, and we'll see what it brings.
So good win last week, but a real test for them up at Gordonians, the team that's really emerged as the star team of the league.
Oh yeah, it's the toughest test you can have in National 2 this season. The league leaders away, and let's not forget it's a however many thousands of miles round trip for Berwick as well. So again, say it about so many games this season, if they can come away from there with anything, given, you know, what they need for the remainder of the season, then that looks like a pretty good result. But of course they'll be going up there and giving their all. It's a blow not to have Hindhaw. He, the likes of him and Thompson, etc., they are operators that are proven a level above, so that's a blow, of course. But yeah, Berwick, you know, looking for maybe a couple of favours tomorrow as well. We're hoping Falkirk can put one on Lasswade, and Kirkcaldy can go to Newton Stewart, pick up a win, and of course Stu Mel at PL as well.
And let's have a look at that Lasswade Falkirk game then. Lasswade coming into a bit of form. It's 6th versus 5th. 7 points apart though. Lasswade could certainly close the gap on Falkirk. It could also go the other way.
Oh yeah, it's again tough one to call, and this has been almost a sort of traditional National 2 fixture in recent times, often towards the top of the division as well. But Lasswade, that was a brilliant win for them last weekend at Kirkcaldy. So yeah, they'll be welcoming Falkirk tomorrow in good heart. And yeah, well, Falkirk are clear of trouble, but yeah, Berwick, like I say, just looking for a wee favour from Falkirk tomorrow.
And the other match you mentioned, Newton Stewart versus Kirkcaldy. Newton Stewart at the bottom of the table, Kirkcaldy in 4th spot. We've been speculating each week, of course, about Newton Stewart, as we're amazed that they're at the bottom of the table, particularly as we had them as promotion contenders at the start of the season. So I spoke with coach Nick Floyd this week, and he brought us right up to date on what's been happening at the club. Well, Nick, first of all, many people are pretty shocked, including myself and Robin, to see Newton Stewart bottom of the table. We see the results each week. They tell only half the story, though, so we're keen to obviously hear from you about what's been going on at the club right now, and you've been absolutely plagued with injuries.
Yeah, we certainly have. It's been a very challenging season for us in many ways. You know, you're probably well and truly aware that the Nat 2's got significantly tougher, I believe, over the last few years. The big clubs have seemed to have got stronger. We're a very small, rural-based club with a small playing base, and we're just sort of in the middle of a perfect storm, I think, at the moment in terms of injuries and unavailability, and that sort of permeated right from the start of the season. My previous club was Colchester, that played level 4 down in the RFU, and we had 6 senior teams, and I think if you had 1 or 2 serious injuries in a season, it was a calamity. We're sitting here right now with half a season done with 1 team and 5 serious injuries and a number of moderate injuries. So yeah, it's a difficult time, particularly for those players. But you know, it's a challenge, and the upside, if you like, is that it's presented some of the players with opportunities that they may not have had. Like every team, you want consistency, but that only really comes with experience. So at the moment, we're trying to get both at the same time.
You took a team to Berwick at the weekend, of course, and it was a big win for Berwick. I mean, there was something like 6 under-18s. So to put them bang in National 2 is great experience for them, but a real challenge.
Oh yeah, it's certainly the last thing we wanted to do. I mean, we've got a history. You know, Martin Wallace, who had the team beforehand, created this system where we would very, very gradually feed the younger players into the team. I mean, to give you a little bit of an idea, I think, you know, at the end of last season, we had something like 30 senior players available and, you know, half a dozen youngsters. But we had, you know, our fullback, Russell Morton, who now lives in Glasgow and has always been much more capable than playing at National 2, went off to play with the Glasgow Accies. We lost our RDO, unfortunately, Thomas Quigley, who was an exceptional centre. We had 3 of our players. We normally have 1 or 2 of the boys every couple of years that will, because they're nearly all farmers, go off exploring down under. And this year, of all years, we had 3 of them go, and then we had a couple of retirees. So all of a sudden, our player base went from 30 to 23, and then somehow in the pre-season, leading up to our first game against Lasswade, we had, going into Lasswade, we had 14 senior players left. And three signed off under 17s, you know, and the last thing you'd ever want to do is blood your 17-year-olds, blood those players against a full-strength Lasswade side at the start of the season, but, you know, needs must. And then, you know, a similar story on the weekend against Berwick, you know, just leading up to Berwick to add further insult to injury. You know, we had a number of players come down with that winter flu, so a couple got out of bed to play and a couple couldn't. So, you know, when you're making that long trip, well, every trip's long for us, but Berwick is one of the longer ones. You know, against the team that Berwick had out, you know, when I saw the team sheet, I thought, well, we're in for a big challenge here. And also, you know, the way they played. I mean, Berwick were outstanding. I mean, they completely outplayed us. Paul outcoached us, outthought us. They out-everythinged us, you know. But again, it's a building experience for us, you know. We'll definitely learn from it. But yeah, it was a tough day at the office.
Would you say that's probably the lowest point in Newton Stewart's recent history? Is there light at the end of the tunnel?
There definitely is. I mean, we will get a few players back before the season's out, hopefully for this weekend. The other 5, we may get Robbie McCormick back in a few weeks' time. As I said, at the start of the season, we had our vice-captain, Thomas McDonald, dislocate his thumb, and he didn't need an operation, but he was out for the first 8 weeks of the season. And then he comes back, and our captain, Robbie, does exactly the same thing, but does need an operation and has his thumb rewired. I've never come across an injury like that before, and we had 2, in half a season. So there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. Poor old Mark McCormick, his injury is quite severe, and, he'll probably, if he comes back towards the end of next year, that would be a positive, but he's desperate to come back, but we're probably looking at not next season, but the season after. Somehow, only Mark could do it. He managed to play 2 games with a fractured tibia and a torn ACL. I don't know how he managed it, but he did. He's been one of many that's been a big loss.
You're deep in the south of Scotland, and that in itself is a big challenge.
It is, but, we've become very used to it. It is really second nature, but again, when you've got, as I said, a third of the team on the weekend were under 18, and for them it's a new thing to be 4.5 hours in a bus and then get off and face a highly motivated, very, very good Berwick team. It's a big step from playing under 18. You just can't get anything of the same ilk. In previous seasons, last season we went up in the morning, played Gordonians. I think it was 6+ hours in the bus. A very good Gordonians team. Completely outplayed them. Got a 5-point win. Back home the next day, and it was second nature to the boys. But it's something that you have to get the experience to be able to cope with it. We're a small club. Everyone at the club is volunteer. No one gets paid. So, for example, against Berwick, Alex Reid and I, as the coaches, were the bus drivers, the physios, the first aiders, and the coaches. So, yeah.
And I suppose recruitment's not that easy as well, because, you're literally picking from your area. You're not in a situation where, boys from Glasgow or boys from the borders or whatever are going to suddenly join up Newton Stewart.
No, it's more the opposite. A couple of our brilliant youngsters, the Ferry boys, who play for Melrose, so they've gone the other way, and Robbie Smith, of course. In terms of coming to us, no. Thomas Quigley was, I think, the first one in a long period of time, but he came from Stirling to do the RDO job. I think we have one boy in our squad at the moment who's not from the local high school, of which we only have one. So, no, we don't get a lot of recruitment.
So the big question is, of course, are you still confident that you can survive? There's 2 going down. It's a 9-team league. There's still 7 games to go, of course. That's 35 points on the table, effectively. And if you get some boys back, hopefully you'll start moving up the table.
Yeah, absolutely. As as you'll see on the table, we do have some games in hand. We're certainly not out of it. So as we're saying, we have the option of sitting there and bemoaning the fact that all these players are out injured, or we can just fight every inch of the way, and certainly that's what we plan to do. We're very positive that we can turn things around, and that's our aim. We'll be going out every week to do that.
Well, we certainly wish you all the best. It's good to talk to you, Nick, and I'm no doubt we'll talk to you more in the weeks to come.
Thank you, Stuart. It's been nice talking to you.
So thanks to Nick Floyd there for filling us in, and an explanation of what's been going down there at Newton Stewart. Quite shocking.
Oh yeah, what a great interview. First of all, spoke brilliantly there, Nick, and that's filled us in. That's put us in the picture. Sounds like they've not had their troubles to seek. Sounds a bit like Jed last season. Injury, struggling for numbers. One town, one school can't recruit as easily as some other clubs, and but it sounds like they're battling on. They're bringing the young guys in, and and the injury to Mark McCormick as well. We mentioned him a few times on this show this year.
You're a big fan, aren't you?
Oh, massive! I was astonished when I was watching Glasgow in the Inter-District when I sort of learned that this is a guy that's playing in the third tier. This looks like a guy that could run about, play for Ayr, or Heriots or Glasgow Hawks or whoever, and we wish them well. That was a really good interview, that, and it's, like I say, it's put us in the picture. And yeah, they've got games in hand, and if they can get a few boys back, like I say, they were towards the top of the table last season. So yeah, all the very best to them.
Right, the other match in National 2 is Preston Lodge against Stuart's Melville. Stu Mel haven't had a game for a while. Their turn to sit it out last week, of course, in the 9-team league. They need to chase down Gordonians. They're 6 points behind, but playing the team in 8th.
Yeah, Stuart, and that's another one that Berwick will have a keen eye on. You mentioned earlier that Stu Mel not played a lot of rugby recently. That could make the PL fixture away from home a tricky assignment. PL will obviously be absolutely desperate, and yes, Stu Mel, I feel, will have a game on their hands there, but obviously they're second in the table for a reason, so they should have enough to come through it. But my word, I don't see it being easy.
Well, this is the Friday Rugby Preview on Rugby Radio, and so we turn our attention to matters in the East League.
The East League Roundup with Euan Welsh.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's edition of the East League Roundup, with 5 of our local teams gearing up for another exciting round of fixtures. Starting in East League 1, and Langham continued their impressive season with a dominant 60-15 victory over Dalkeith at home. This week, Langham travel to face Harrington, where they'll be looking to carry their momentum in another important march on the road. In East League 2, Hawick Harlequins beat Corstorphine last weekend in front of their home crowd. The Quins will hope to build on that result as they travel to face Livingston this weekend, and Captain Liam Graham previews the tough fixture ahead.
After a tough game last week against a really stuffy Corstorphine side, really physical team, they never really gave us an inch up front, especially the first half. They really put us to the sword, scrum time especially, and then we grew into the game second half really. Set pieces started to work, line outs, managed to score for a couple of line outs from phrases from there. Really managed to kind of put the game to them and seen what they were about, and managed to get the upper hand in the second half especially. They scored some really good tries from all across the pitch, and probably in the end could have scored a good few more points if we had taken our chances. For being out for about 5-6 weeks for us, we were really happy with how the squad played. I'm looking forward to this week. Livingston's got to be a completely different task for us, especially away from home. Our struggles this season have been to show, especially if you look at our home and away form. You can really see our away games are where we struggle. But hopefully this week we can manage to get a couple more people on board and manage to get a decent squad for what will be a very tough challenge. And Livingston sitting second in the league, I think, at the minute, just shows how good a team they are. And really taking a game to Dunbar last week and only get beat by a point kind of shows that we really need to be on the top of our game this week. And hopefully we can manage to get the boys to go up there and give them a good game. After next week we've got a trip away with the boys, and then after that it's back into league form, league duty with a home game against Friday Rugby Preview that hopefully will kick us off for the remainder of the season and hopefully push us back up the league and hopefully finish about second place. Hopefully, all in all, really good week at the club last week, good training numbers, and this week looks like it's going to be the exact same, so hopefully we can get the numbers for the game on Saturday and give Livingston a really good go.
Over in East League 3, Earlston delivered a great performance, defeating Lismore 78-0 to maintain their unbeaten start to the season. Things will be tougher this week as they have a top of the table Borders derby when they travel to face Hawick Lindeen. The Lindeen unfortunately had their match last week postponed due to no match official being available, but they'll be eager to make their mark in this highly anticipated local clash. From Earlston, we hear from head coach Cammy Hill, but first from the Lindeen camp, we have Vice President Kieran Murphy.
This Saturday we take on Earlston at Volunteer Park for what is the third time this season. We've had a couple of defeats of them, most recently the last one in the cup, which is only by 4 points, but it's probably a game we felt like we let slip away. Plenty of chances and probably made the wrong decisions at the wrong time, so certainly plenty to play for. An Earlston win would put them on the brink of the title. A home win for us would certainly put us back in the title race, so certainly a big weekend up at Volunteer Park. Obviously we've had a very slow start to the year and not having a game in 6 weeks, another cancellation Saturday for the referee being unavailable, and sadly there wasn't another ref available in the Borders or Edinburgh, so it's quite a sad sight for rugby, and it's one that I think every club should look at and try and help. But maybe people giving something back to the game, as this will just become a more common problem in days to come. This weekend, obviously, like I said, it's a massive game. We're missing a few boys as always, it's just kind of the case at this level, but the team know we need to dust ourselves off, get ourselves ready, and it all comes down to how much we want it and how much we're willing to put in. As they know, if we lose this game, that's kind of the league over, so everything's on the line. Probably going to have to juggle things around a little bit. I certainly think we've still got that team in the park that could get the result and get the victory. It won't be easy. There's quite a lot of positivity in the camp now, and even though they've not had a game, they have been putting the work in. We had another good training session on Saturday, so hopefully we're on the right end of the result this time.
Last weekend we welcomed Lismore to the Hogg. Obviously expecting a pretty tough test was our thoughts after last season's results, and obviously just scraping through, getting a bonus point win at the start of the season up there. We really thought this was going to be a test. Eventually we came away 7-8-0 winners, which is more than convincing. Lismore weren't a bad side, pretty similar. They were missing 3 players compared to the team that played us up there, so it just shows how far we've come along since the start of the season. We were clinical in every area. My lineouts, our scrums are pretty dominant, ball carrying. We really upped our physicality this week, which was pleasing to see going into Lindeen this weekend, as we're going to need it. So overall last weekend, really happy with how we went. A few things to work on going into Lindeen this week, but we're not quite the complete package yet, but we'll get there. So turning our focus to Lindeen this weekend, massive game for both clubs in terms of how the league will go. Us going over there, if we manage to get a win, puts us firmly in the driving seat, but on the other hand, if we slip up and we lose to Lindeen, that really opens it up. It only pulls it back into maybe a 3 or 4 point swing depending on how games go. If Northern win it then drags them back into the equation. So across the board, it's a massive weekend for us all. But we're confident after last weekend's performance that we can go over there and we can get something out of that match. Squad-wise, I think we're back to full selection. No injuries over the weekend, which was really pleasing. We'll get back to full strength, get our best squad out this weekend, and hopefully we can go over to Hawick and get the result we need to carry on our challenge for the league.
Elsewhere in East League 3, Duns are at home to Inverleith, and a game that the Borders will be expected to win. That rounds up this week's previews, and as always, best wishes to the Borders teams in action this weekend.
And that's just about it for this edition of the Friday Rugby Preview. We're on here at 2:30 tomorrow for commentary with Robin and Andrew Fleming at Jed against Peebles in National 1. We've also got reporters at Raeburn Place, Golden Acre, Mansfield Park and the Green Yards. Let's hope the storm passes and we get a full programme tomorrow. Remember, you can listen to Rugby Radio at rugbyradio.co.uk and also from the homepage of bordersrugby.net, and our Twitter feed at Borders Scores will bring you latest score updates. But for now, from Robin and myself, a very good night.
The Friday Rugby Preview with Stuart Cameron.